Fuck you and your mom and your sister and your job and your broke ass car and the shit you call art. Fuck you and your friends. No. Hi guys, how are you doing today? Welcome, thank you for being here. It's really weird trying to talk into a camera when your dog is staring at you. I've told her a billion times that she needs to settle and lay down. For those of you who do not know me, hello, nice to meet you. My name is Paige Layle. I am an autistic human being. Whether you believe it or not, I don't care, because it's the truth. And this is my life with autism. If you are not doing so already, please make sure to follow my TikTok at Paige Layle, and while you're at it, you can follow my Instagram with the same name. There's a lot more random, spontaneous autism content on those two things as well, with TikTok almost at 2.7 million followers. Thank you guys so much. But yeah, last week's video, if you guys haven't seen it, I asked you guys some questions that you have for me, specifically autism-related questions, and I answered them. But turns out that I talk a lot, if we didn't already know that. So I only answered like 8 questions or something. Whatever it was not the number that I wanted to answer. I wanted to answer a lot more. So I'm going to do so right now. I'm going to answer some of your questions. So if you ask me a question, stick around, maybe your question is here. Or if you would like to know more about me or more about autism in general, keep watching. I don't think it's that boring. I think we have a good time over here. So, you know, stick around. Are autistic people allowed to use accessibility on the iPhone? You are allowed to use any accommodation that works for you. Whether you are diagnosed with autism or not, whether you are diagnosed with anything. If you do something, or if you get an accommodation and it makes your life better and easier, then you are supposed to have that accommodation. If I saw someone stimming like this and they weren't autistic or they didn't have any kind of diagnosis, I wouldn't tell them to stop because they're gatekeeping autism things. If doing this makes them feel better, then good. I would like you to feel good. I would like you to feel better. I would like things to be easier for you as well. So yes, use the accessibility on the iPhone. Use whatever accommodation it works for you. And there's no need to feel guilty about it. That's what it's there for. If a child asked you, what is autism? What does it mean if someone is autistic? How would you explain it in the simplest of terms? I guess it would depend on how old they were and what their background knowledge is on any kind of disorder. But I appreciate this question because I think that it is important to teach children that there are other humans in the world that aren't them. If I was speaking to a child that asked me what autism is, I would say that autism is when your brain forms differently than other people's brains. And usually you know this when you go to a doctor and the doctor asks you some specific questions, and then they can find out whether or not your brain has formed in this unique way. And when your brain gets formed in this way, sometimes things can be especially challenging. Autistic people often have a hard time with social cues. So sometimes they may not follow rules that a lot of other people follow when they're not actually rules. Like maybe they dress differently, maybe they speak differently, maybe they enjoy different things. And also sometimes it can maybe be hard to make friends because they might not understand your social cues and they might not have the same interests as you. If they were really little, I think I would just keep it like that. As they age or as they get older or as their knowledge increases, I would add more things, go more in depth. I'd be like, here's my video on what autism is if you would like to see. This is the criteria in the DSM-5. There's a video about that if you would like to see it. Point them towards autistic people that can explain their experiences better than a non-autistic person, obviously. I think when they're really little, going into like what autism actually is can be more difficult for them to grasp other than what they can see autism look like in their life, because developmental disorders and how all of that works and all the neuron pathways and whatever, I'm sure that that's not really what they're looking for when they ask you what autism is, especially if they're little and probably egocentric. They probably want to know what autism is. If they could see autism right now, what would they be looking at? How do you deal with other people's pillows and bedding when you go away? Well, that's really funny because I don't like to go away. I don't like those things. And if I do go away, I would like to bring my own pillows and bedding. Every other place is weird and I don't like sleeping in any other place. Something that I always need when I go away is I need my weighted blanket, and then I have like a smaller blanket that I will wrap around my shoulders and tuck under like this, and I've always slept like this. If I do not have my weighted blanket and my little blanket and the pillows are too soft and the bed's too soft, usually I hurt the next morning. I haven't found a way to deal with it because it just kind of sucks no matter what. I would say bring your own things if you can. If not, then I'm sorry. Do you have EDS? Not that I know of. You seem to really like and care for animals since you have a dog and a cat. Have you ever had an interest in games that involve animals? Like a pet simulation video game, like Nintendo? Oh, absolutely. I had Nintendogs, I had the one for the cats, I had Tamagotchis forever. Tons of games, tons and tons and tons of games where you take care of things. A lot of autistic people connect with children and animals better than other humans. It's a very common thing. I don't know, I just feel like animals and children, we get each other. Because animals nor children know social rules, and me neither. So it's so much easier to communicate with them. And also, I enjoy taking care of things. More so, I enjoy teaching people things, having them know things. I think that's so cool. What are your Myers-Briggs and enneagram types? When I was in high school, I took the Myers-Briggs test and I was an ENFP. And I was like, yeah, this makes sense. Everything makes sense. Everything's great. And now, as I'm older and accept that I'm autistic and I'm not in school, I'm not around other people, when I read about ENFPs and I have friends that are ENFPs, and I'm like, no, we're so different, dude. We're so different. And I don't agree with this. I'm not like that. I like being around people. I'm happy all the time. No. So I took the test again like a year ago, and I was ISTJ, the complete opposite of ENFP. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm just being weird because there's no way I'd be like that completely opposite. And then I took it again like a month ago, ISTJ. Not only do you grow and change as you age, I mean, when I took it in high school, I was 17 and now I'm 21. Of course, there's going to be differences. But also when I was 17, I was masking so much. I did not know who I was at all. I was just a shell of a person. ENFP is what I thought I was. You know, what I thought other people saw me as. Now I know a lot more of what I like and what I don't like, which is great. So yeah, I'm an ISTJ, and my enneagram type, when I took it a few years ago, I was 2W or whatever, 3, but I haven't taken it in a while. There is this website that someone showed me where I guess people can discuss different people's Myers-Briggs types and their enneagram types. I'm gonna look it up actually. Let's see. Paige, Layle. Personality database. I feel like this is correct. This is correct. This is correct. Yes. They say on the personality-database.com, oh my god, people like vote on it, is ISTJ. That's what people think. That is hilarious. People either think I'm ISTJ or someone thinks I'm ESTJ. No, I'm definitely introverted. I think I'm gonna have to agree with that. And then enneagram, most people think I'm 1W9. I don't know what that even means. So I don't know, take that as you will. Do you know if you can have hyper awareness of needing to use the bathroom? Because I think that's me. Absolutely you can. You can be hypersensitive or hyposensitive to interoception. I'm hyposensitive, so I do not relate, but it's definitely a thing. And I have friends that are hypersensitive to things like that as well. Can our sensory issues change their nature during our lifetime? Yeah, for sure. You're constantly changing. Your body's constantly changing. Your likes and your dislikes are constantly changing, and also what you can learn to adapt to or tolerate can change. How can you tell what's ADHD and what's autism? You have a hard time doing so. Basically, I really just go off of what the DSM-5 tells me the difference between autism and ADHD are. But it's also hard for me because I don't think that you can really disconnect the two of them. I don't know. I think that it's hard when you have both to be like, this is an autism thing, this is an ADHD thing. I think I'm just an autistic ADHD combination. ADHD, if you will, because I think I do autistic things a little more ADHD-like and ADHD things in an autistic way. I think they just kind of mesh. I think that they just mesh together. I can never know what is autism and what is ADHD because I have both. All the time. I'm sure that they influence each other because they influence everything I do in my life. Have you tried marijuana, Paige? I do have a funny marijuana story. Basically, I've been trying to enjoy marijuana for quite some time now. I've recently been equipped with some different strands of marijuana, and thus far, it's not bad. I'm having a pretty good reaction to it. I actually do enjoy it. But I used to super not enjoy it. I used to absolutely not enjoy it. One time, I had a seizure after I had an edible and I had to go to the hospital. They basically said that the reason why I had a seizure was because I'm autistic. You know, when THC binds to your cannabinoid system, like most things, a negative feedback loop, it goes, we don't need to make any more of this thing. This THC is blocking it, and it's saying that we don't need to make any more of this, whatever freaking hormone it is. We don't need to make any more. We're done. My brain was like, something's blocking it. What do we do? Push it out of the way? We gotta push it out of the way. We got shit to do. How are we gonna do this? Should we just make a lot more shit? Maybe if we just make a lot more shit and just throw it at it, it'll bounce off the receptor and we can bind on. Let's just make so much shit. And so my brain just made so much, way too much, and then I had a seizure. Was how they explained it to me. We will be right back. I need to put the animals in their rightful places, which is not bugging me at this moment. Oh my god. You are so cute. Okay, that's cool. Sorry about that interruption. Yeah, so I was really nervous to smoke weed for like the longest time, but then I thought I would introduce it slowly because really, I'm at the point where I will try literally anything to keep me alive because I've tried a lot of stuff and none of it's working, and I really don't want to be here. So I'm like, listen, this seems to work for a lot of people. I want it to work for me. And I will find one that does. There's so many different strains and stuff. I'll find it. I'll find something. I will. I'm sure there's a weed out there that would work for me. So it is a process, but I'm working on it. And I think I'm doing good, but time will tell. Maybe I'll have to have a weed updated story time one time. Did you ever expect that you could help so many people who didn't know they were autistic to figure it out with your videos? I had no clue. I had no idea that this would happen. It was all really a complete accident, really. I think that that's really freaking cool. I wish I had that when I was younger. I didn't know what autism was until I was literally diagnosed with it. And then I still didn't really know what autism was. I'm glad I'm helping people, and I hope I continue to do so. Do you find it easier to film in your new house or your parents' house? I would think I find it easier to film in my new house, and that is because there's no one here. So I have an easier time talking and being myself, I guess, and doing whatever I want to do because no one's here. But when I was at my parents' house, there was usually like my mom, my dad, my brother, someone that was also home that was like sitting in the living room or something. And I'm like, I have to be quiet, or I can't be weird, or I can't swear or something if I really need to. I don't know. I was like, The only downside of filming here is that the room that I film in doesn't have a door. And so my pets sometimes like to come in and out unless I like force them upstairs, which also doesn't have a door. So I put a baby gate up, which sometimes my cat will still climb over. Is me wanting to bite things when I'm happy a mouth stim? Yes, probably. What was school like for you after you got diagnosed? Did you tell your friends/peers? How did they react? I didn't tell anyone for a long time. The only people that knew were my mother, who was there with me when I got diagnosed, my doctor, the guy that diagnosed me, and then my father and my brother. And then after a couple weeks, we told my father's mom and dad, so my grandparents. And then I had a boyfriend at the time who I also told, I think the day I got diagnosed. And pretty much all of them told me not to tell anybody because it would be bad and not good. And I was like, sure. I also don't know what to do with this information. And so for right now, maybe I will figure it out myself. So yeah, I didn't tell anyone for a while, anyone really close to me. There were some times where people would get mad at me for autistic things that I do. And then I was like, I'm autistic. See, people always like to say that they don't make fun of autistic people, you know? No one made fun of me for being autistic in school, but they did make fun of me for actually being autistic and doing autistic things. I mean, I have lots of people ever since I've kind of like blown up, lots of people from my high school that have reached out and apologized to me, that have said like, oh, I get it now. Thank you for teaching me. I'm sorry. And it's really stupid. It makes me frustrated really because I'm like, just because I'm now telling you that there's a reason why I'm the way that I am, now you feel like you have done something wrong? What about all the times you made fun of me? And also now that I'm like talking about it, you feel the need to say sorry to me. Now, keep your stupid apologies. You're not forgiven and I don't want to hear it. I hate when people just apologize to me to make themselves feel better. I know those apologies had nothing to do with me. Like I have guys from high school that are now trying to like date me and stuff. Like I don't remember you calling me a retard in the class. Like I don't remember you making fun of me for crying or for not talking or for getting frustrated when I got a 92 on my test. Like I don't remember the way you looked at me and the eye rolls and the disgusting faces and how many times I was left out of group chats, of parties. I was always picked last for everything. No one wanted to be my partner. And now you're coming to me and saying that you're sorry and that you think I'm beautiful and that we should go on a date. Fuck yourself. That's how I feel about high school. That's how I felt after I was diagnosed. I felt like if they knew I was autistic, they wouldn't be saying anything, and that breaks my heart that it really takes a diagnosis or something for people to be nice to each other. Just be nice to people. Just don't be an asshole. No matter what. Why would you make fun of someone for anything? They're not hurting you. I never hurt anyone except myself, and everyone around me had to make sure that they also hurt me too. And it was stupid, and I hated high school. I hated it so much. And when anyone from my high school tries to reach out to me, I hate it. People from my high school that wouldn't even look at me in the halls, who made fun of me for trying to run for class president, shit like that, who called me names, who don't reach out to me, don't fucking talk to me, don't you dare. You're not forgiven, and I would not care if I didn't ever see your face ever again. Later on, near the end of high school in grade 12, I think was when I started telling my friends. Pretty much all of my friends were like, yeah, that makes sense. My one guy best friend, he was like, I know. So it's funny, when I was first like, autistic publicly on the internet, a lot of people were like, you're an autistic, you don't seem autistic. And the funny thing about that is no one in my real life has said that to me. No one in my real life that knows me has ever said, you're not autistic. I do remember that the boyfriend I had at the time, he was, as much as he was like, don't tell anybody, he was actually super accommodating. Like the most accommodating person. We dated for like a while, but it was in high school. So it's like long gone past, over, done with. But he was super, super accommodating. He knew like all of the things that bugged me. And I think he knew about all of them before I was diagnosed with being autistic. We'd known each other for a while and we were friends for like a few years before we started dating. He was super accommodating and like didn't make me feel stupid for any of the things. Like he knew when I was stressed and what to do, and would ask me certain questions to know where my head's at, and especially like in public in a discreet way where no one else would know that I was like stressed or not having a good time. If you're watching this, ex-boyfriend, you know who you are, and thank you very much for being that positive support in my life when I really needed it. At the time, most of my friends were kind of iffy about things. They weren't sure what really to do or what really to ask what to do. Or sometimes when I was like, I can't do that because I'm autistic and I can't, sometimes they would get mad at me and I'm like, I don't know what to do because I can't change this. Anyway, things are a lot better now. My friends are really super cool. What brow product do you use? The color is so good. Thank you. They're actually tattooed on my face. Thanks. Have you ever had accessibility guilt? Yes, I've had accessibility guilt for sure. But like I was saying at the beginning, you should not feel guilty for having accommodations that help you. After I was diagnosed with autism, I remember I had a meeting with one of the school counselors. I've never met with this school counselor. I met with all the other ones because I was in there every week. But this school counselor was saying, well, we've got your autism diagnosis here, Paige. We're gonna set you up with an IEP. I was like, really? I only have 2 years left of school and I've been doing it this whole time without an IEP. Are you sure? And she's like, yeah, you're autistic, Paige. Like you need an IEP probably. And I was like, I don't think I do. And she's like, yeah, and you are in here like every week, you hate your life, you've tried to unalive yourself multiple times, so you're obviously not having a good time, and so whatever we can do to make it better and easier for you, we will do. And I was so confused because I'm like, what are even my options? She said, do you need more time on tests? And I said, no, I usually finished the tests early and I'm always the first one to finish tests. And she's like, hey, well, go home and think about like some things that you would really love if you could do in school and write a list and we'll see what we can do. So I was like, okay. And I got home and I'm like, I feel like this is too much power. I was nervous to write down some things because I'm like, I don't want to ask for that. That's too much. That's too much to ask for. But I ended up writing down like a good amount of things just to see. I'm like, this would be really cool. And every single thing I wrote down, she was like, these are all doable and we will do them all. And I felt weird. I haven't had these things for all the other years, and now for the last 2 years in my high school when things are the hardest too, like I'm gonna get the accommodations, like I felt bad, but I didn't need to. Like, they're there for a reason. They were helpful and they were easy to accommodate. One of my accommodations was I got to stand up when I wrote tests. I'd have a podium that they'd put at the back of the class so I wasn't like being distracting or whatever. I also would never ever cheat on a test, partially because I was more so the kid people would cheat off of than a kid that would cheat off their answers. I trust myself way more than I trust you. And that was great. And that was because I constantly needed to be moving at all times. Especially when writing a test, I would get so overwhelmed that I would burn out and fall asleep, especially if I wasn't allowed to move. So I'd stand up while writing tests, move around, and I also got to walk around the class or go, if it was like an exam, I got to be able to walk just outside the classroom, walk around for a little bit, and then come back in. I also had an accommodation that I could request all of the slides and topics that we were learning about a week in advance. So every Sunday, all my teachers would send me the notes for the entire week of what we were going to do so I could look at them beforehand, prepare questions, have them go over it again, see if my questions are answered. I would check them off. And then at the end of class, I would have 5 minutes with the teacher to be able to ask my questions. I used to interrupt the class way too often. I had so many questions. My hand was always constantly raised. One, because I don't understand things unless you explain them a certain way. And two, because I just wanted to know more. What about if you do this? What about if you do this? That's not part of the curriculum page. We don't need to learn that, but I wanted to. I love learning. I want to know everything. Some teachers did not like it very much. Some teachers did not like me very much. They didn't like this whole thing. Because it was an accommodation, my counselor that did the accommodations, she said, nope, they have to. Nope, they have to. And I was like, yeah, you know what? You have to do this, Mr. Bordelot. I know you don't want to send me your notes a week in advance. I know you've done the same notes for the past 20 years. Send them to me, Mr. Bordelot. He's like, you're not coming to talk to me after class. Yeah, I am. That's your job. You're a teacher. Your job is to teach me. Teach me. 5 minutes. What are some of your favorite sensory tools that you use the most? I like to constantly be doing something with my hands. You guys will probably notice I'm touching my hands a lot or moving my hands a lot. I like having something in my hands, whether that's my phone, or to crochet while I'm doing stuff, or recently, actually, I just bought a guitar, and so I've been playing the guitar, and it's really fun. And actually, when I play the guitar, I find that I'm like swaying. I really like the guitar. I like things in my mouth. I'm oral stimmer. Usually that's like gum and stuff, but I also have like little necklaces that I have that you can chew, or just necklaces in general. I bought my first weighted blanket before they were like such a huge thing, and so it was like $400, and then my next weighted blanket was like $40 from Costco or something, and now they're like huge. I like the little poppy things. I like the sound of them. I have my loop earplugs for when I go out. I have a couple different ones. I have ones that I wear when I'm vacuuming, ones I wear in the grocery store, and ones that I will wear to the gym if I forget like my headphones for music. I do like music though. Do you struggle with touch when in a relationship? Yeah. I don't like light pressures, like light touches. If you're gonna touch me, you know? Like don't, I hate it. No, if you're gonna touch me, you're just do it. Like when I'm sleeping, don't touch me. I remember like my first relationship with the first guy I was talking about, if we would like take a nap together or anything, like we were just like full on like cuddling each other. That was nice too. No one was moving. Like it was just like constant, like a constant touch, and it was fine. Then my next relationship, this guy's like, I sleep on the other end of the bed, like faced away from you, don't touch me. And I was like, weird. And then we dated for like a year, broke up, and then we dated like 2 years later for like 2 and a bit years. And so then every night we're like talking, and then we're like good night, and we'd roll over to opposite sides of the bed, don't touch each other, like absolutely no touching each other. And it was great. It was great. I don't like when my mother touches me. Sometimes she'll like grab my hand, I'm like, get off, grab my leg, get off. If you're not a romantic partner, don't touch me. My romantic partners, I'm comfortable with you touching me. But like even like my friends, I'm like, okay, that's enough now. That's too much. Don't do that. Have you ever felt as if society does not accept you? Yes. If so, how have you managed? Just cry a lot of the time. My problem is I don't think I'm managing, guys. I don't think I'm managing. People sometimes like, can I have advice? And I'm like, that's the one thing that I can't do, is give you advice, because I also would like it. We're not doing great up in here. Like, how do you do this thing? I don't even know. I'm pretty sure I dissociate all the time because everything is so hard. It is so hard. I hate it here. I totally do. I can tell you more about my life. Can I explain it or figure out how to help me? No, I really wish that I could for my own sake, if not everyone else's sake as well. But if you have any tips, I would love to hear them. All I'm doing is just up in here talking about my life. I have no idea how to make it better, and if I did, I probably would be better. But I'm not, so I'm sorry for that. If I have specific how to make your life better things, I will make a separate video specifically to that, because that would be a really big deal, especially coming from me. I noticed you have a tattoo. How much did it hurt to get one? You know, I won't say that I didn't feel anything, but they were more than bearable. Absolutely more than bearable. I have a pretty high pain threshold. It takes a lot to really hurt me. This one is my biggest, actually. I know it's pretty small. I don't have that many, but I have a few, and I would like to get like, I want to get my whole like hands and forearms. That's my vibe. It's very gender euphoric to me. The actual tattooing of like the needle in your skin, 20 minutes maybe. Like they're super quick. One of my ribs took like 12 minutes. It was 12 minutes. I'm hyposensitive to pain. Like I'm like, yeah, that's a thing that's definitely there. Like, and it hurts, but it's not like, it's totally not unbearable. And I would and will do it again. My question would probably be, what are you diagnosed or self-diagnosed with, when and why? Yeah, so I am diagnosed with autism, major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, ADHD. Those are like the big 5. And then the 2 newest ones that haven't been diagnosed, but are there, and I'm sure I'll probably get diagnosed with them someday. One is PTSD, and one is an eating disorder. Yay! The first 5 all happened when I was 15. 15 was a big year. And then the other ones, I've come to terms with them maybe when I was 19, I think is when I came to terms with them, but they have been affecting my life for a long ass time, and I just found out what it was when I was about 19. There was a very traumatic moment in my life, very hard, it was the worst day of my life. 3 really awful things happened at one after another, and it was really bad, and I don't want to talk about it right now. And I still have really bad times with that, and that was when I was 19, and that was really bad, really not good. It's likely that I have CPTSD as well from things that happened in childhood. It is very uncommon that an autistic person does not have trauma. It's very hard to separate autism and trauma. Most autistic people have trauma. Trauma doesn't always turn into PTSD, but I do believe that that influences my life. And eating disorder. Eating disorders are tough ones, and they have ranged for me for a bit, but they're always there. And it is, you know, I like control, and I also never feel hunger. So those are two things that don't go very well together. There are probably other things. I'm sure that I have OCPD. Honestly, at this point, I've just kind of chalked everything up to like, I got a juicy brain, you know? There's a lot of stuff going on in there. Have you ever had masks bother your sensory issues? Yes, wearing a mask in public is ass. It is awful. I hate how it moves. I hate how when you breathe, now there's water particles right there. I hate having to take it on and off. I hate putting it on. I hate taking it off. I hate how it feels behind my ears. I hate everything about masks. I'm also a smart person who cares about other people, and so I wear them to protect them. That's how it is. Do you ever get a migraine from strong scents? Yes, I get migraines frequently from a lot of things. Usually I can feel when a migraine's gonna come though. My one eye kind of stops working, and then the migraine will happen on the other side of my head, usually on the other eye. Do you ever get annoyed when people are always commenting on your good looks? I personally think that you're one of the most physically attractive women that I've ever seen. I don't get annoyed. I detach it a lot from myself. I've constantly, like my whole life, been, you know, the pretty girl, and being pretty, but also being myself, like who I am as a person, has kept me alienated my whole life, because the popular pretty kids were like, oh, she's one of us. But then I was so not one of them, and they were like, nah. And so I was left out there. And then the kids that I probably had more in common with that like weren't the popular kids, they were like, oh, she's one of the popular kids, so she's doing her own thing. So I was always alone all the time. And because I was pretty, but also struggling every day, people were like, you're fine. You're pretty, you're smart, you're fine. You're fine. I don't feel any kind of connection with how I look or my body or whatever. When people say like, you're so pretty, I don't even want to say thank you, because I didn't do anything. I just look like my parents, you know? My parents look like me and they created me. Like when you're so pretty, like, okay. I don't know, like it's not a compliment to me, because like I didn't do anything. I'm not annoyed when people say that I'm pretty, whatever. I just feel like it's less of a compliment to me and almost like more of a compliment to my parents. And also I'm like, I'm not just pretty, okay? I've had too many people in my life that look at me and they're like, I want her because look at how she is. And people just are like, you are, you know, a pretty face or whatever. And I'm like, I'm really not. I have a lot going on, and I've disappointed a lot of people, and I've let down a lot of people just because they see me, I look like this, and they expect something. That's the story of my life. People see me and they expect something that is not true, and then they leave, and I'm alone. And I don't know what to do because I look like this, and I didn't mean to. I was just birthed, and I look like this. No, it's not annoying, but like I just know that I don't know what to say. Like it's not bad, you know. It's still a compliment. You can say it, and that's cool. That's nice. But I don't know. I didn't do anything, so I don't know what to say. This recording is an hour long. And that's so much. So I should probably stop. I mean, I didn't answer as many questions as I wanted to again, but man, I talk a lot. Thank you guys so much for asking me questions. It's really cool to see, even for myself, what I think the answers are. Helps me think, helps me do some more diving in. Let me know what kind of content you guys are looking for or what you would like. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here so much. And thank you guys for being here so much. Is that what I just said? Okay. Hey, and you know what? I will see you next Friday and we'll have a freaking blast. You're the best. You're the coolest. I love you. Bye.